one printed number. That was all it took to reignite a debate that, years later, still refuses to disappear. Buried inside an old entertainment magazine was a short profile that seemed completely ordinary until internet users rediscovered one surprising detail. Next to Meghan Markle's name was an age that appeared to differ from widely accepted public records for that time. What looked like a minor discrepancy quickly became the center of thousands of online discussions. Was it simply an editorial mistake? Could incorrect information have been submitted before publication? Or was it just one of those small inconsistencies that the internet can never seem to let go? No publicly available evidence has definitively answered those questions. Yet curiosity surrounding that single printed number has continued to fuel discussion across social media, forums, and YouTube. Today, we're exploring how one magazine entry evolved into one of the internet's most persistent royal debates, examining what is known, what remains uncertain, and why people continue talking about it years later. When the magazine was originally published, almost no one paid special attention to Meghan Markle's profile. Like many publications featuring aspiring young performers, it included brief introductions that readers often glanced at before turning the page. Everything seemed routine. But years later, someone noticed something unexpected. The age listed beside Meghan's name appeared inconsistent with widely accepted public records for that period. Online observers quickly highlighted the discrepancy, and screenshots of the page began spreading across the internet. Almost overnight, a forgotten magazine became the focus of renewed attention. Many people wondered how such an error, if it was an error, could have appeared in a professionally printed publication. Magazines typically pass through multiple stages of editing before reaching readers, leading some to ask whether incorrect information had been provided, or whether the mistake simply slipped through the editorial process. At this stage, however, no publicly available evidence has established why the discrepancy appeared. That uncertainty became the story. As screenshots continued circulating, online communities started looking beyond the magazine itself. Internet users searched through archived interviews, old newspaper articles, television appearances, and publicly available records, hoping to understand whether the age discrepancy fit into a broader timeline or whether it was simply an isolated publishing mistake. Different groups reached very different conclusions. Some argued the explanation was straightforward. Printing errors happen, especially in entertainment media, and an incorrect age could easily survive the editing process. Others believed the issue deserved closer examination because they felt additional timeline questions had surfaced in unrelated discussions over the years. Importantly, neither side produced conclusive evidence that settled the matter. Instead, the debate grew larger. Every new theory inspired another counter-argument. Every screenshot prompted another fact-check. Every opinion generated hundreds of responses. What had started as one printed number had transformed into an online mystery that refused to fade. Attention soon shifted toward Meghan Markle's own interviews and public appearances. Viewers revisited conversations from different stages of her career, comparing descriptions of childhood experiences, school years, and early professional opportunities. Supporters argued that personal memories naturally evolve over time, and that small differences in storytelling are common for many public figures. Critics, meanwhile, questioned whether certain details aligned perfectly with publicly available timelines. Again, these discussions largely reflected interpretations shared online rather than independently verified conclusions. Even so, they kept attracting viewers. The more people compared interviews, the more the conversation expanded beyond the original magazine page. By this point, the debate was no longer centered on one publication. It had become a broader discussion about public records, memories, media reporting, and how easily uncertainty can spread across the internet. And then, another development would push the story even further into the spotlight. Years have passed since that magazine was first printed. Countless headlines have come and gone. New royal stories have dominated the news cycle. Public attention has shifted from one controversy to another. Yet somehow, that single printed number continues to find its way back into the spotlight. Every time Meghan Markle makes headlines, the old magazine page seems to reappear. Social media users share the same screenshot. Comment sections fill with familiar arguments. New audiences discover the debate for the first time, while longtime followers return with the same unanswered questions. Why has this story lasted so long? For many observers, the answer has less to do with the magazine itself, and more to do with uncertainty. When information appears incomplete or when different sources seem difficult to reconcile, the internet has a tendency to keep digging. People search archives, compare timelines, revisit interviews, and debate possibilities long after the original event has passed. Some conclude the explanation is likely straightforward, an editorial mistake that attracted extraordinary attention because it involved a globally recognized public figure. Others believe the discrepancy deserves additional clarification and continue searching for publicly available records that might provide greater context. But despite years of discussion, no publicly available evidence has definitively established that the magazine entry reflected anything more than a publishing error, nor has any verified source conclusively explained how the discrepancy occurred. That lack of a definitive answer has left room for competing interpretations, and those interpretations continue to fuel the conversation. As the debate evolved, internet users expanded their focus beyond the original magazine page. Archived interviews were revisited. Old articles resurfaced. Historical records were discussed. Some online commentators pointed to documents they believed supported their views. Others questioned whether those materials were complete, reliable, or presented with sufficient context. The same pieces of information often produced completely different conclusions depending on who examined them. Supporters cautioned against treating isolated inconsistencies as evidence of a larger narrative. Critics argued that recurring questions naturally invite continued public interest. Neither perspective settled the matter. Instead, the conversation became an example of something much larger than one celebrity or one publication. It became a case study in how the digital age processes uncertainty. Today, information never truly disappears. Old magazines are scanned. Television interviews are uploaded. Newspapers become searchable. Videos are clipped, shared, and analyzed frame by frame. As a result, stories that might once have faded into history can return years later with entirely new audiences examining them through a modern lens. That is exactly what happened here. What began as one printed detail eventually transformed into thousands of videos, articles, reaction channels, and online discussions, each offering its own interpretation of the same publicly available information. And perhaps that is the most remarkable part of this story. It isn't simply about whether one number was correct, it's about how quickly curiosity can spread across the internet. One screenshot becomes a thread. A thread becomes a video. A video inspires another investigation. Then another. Before long, a decades-old publication is once again at the center of worldwide discussion. Whether the explanation ultimately proves to be an ordinary editorial oversight, or whether additional verified information someday provides greater context, one reality remains unchanged. Curiosity has kept this story alive. Until new, independently verified evidence emerges, much of the debate remains driven by interpretation, rather than confirmation. And that leaves the final question to every viewer. When an old mystery refuses to disappear, is it because there's still something left to discover? Or because the internet never truly lets unanswered questions fade away? Only time and verifiable evidence can answer that. If you found this breakdown informative, share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this was simply an editorial mistake that grew into an internet phenomenon? Or do you believe unanswered questions naturally invite continued public discussion? Keep the conversation respectful, stay focused on the available evidence, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more in-depth explorations of the stories everyone is talking about.